The United Nations has been hosting a climate meeting called the Conference of the Parties, or COP, every year for over 30 years. Global warming's worst impacts are discussed as delegates from different parts of the world gather in one location to try to find solutions. One of the world's biggest oil and gas dependent nation is hosting COP for the second year in a row. While governments are speaking the language, they're not funding the movement entirely. Our next report telling you more.
Nations must reach their emissions objectives within the next decade to prevent catastrophic levels of global warming. Over 200 nations will gather in Azerbaijan for the next 2 weeks to discuss a new climate financing target. The primary objective is to assist the world's poorest economies in decarbonizing and adapting to increasing temperatures. This could be worth multi-trillion dollars per annum. However, climate champions are looking at private equity rather than governments for this initiative. At the outset of the COP29 meeting, developed nations assumed that sources beyond their control would provide a disproportionate share of the promised funds, mainly because these countries are feeling the pinch of a crunch in finances. The private sector will be a big part of this through various forms of innovative financing and lending. Extremely indebted developing nations are already fighting against the complex and expensive plan to increase private financing. Additionally, the plan begs the essential question: how can countries require non-UN entities to generate hundreds of billions of dollars? Whether or not any fresh promises made in Baku this year are credible will depend on this response. More importantly, all eyes will be on concrete plans backed by money. This comes as previous meetings have, at best, ended with new jargon rather than clear, actionable and accountable steps. There is talk of commercial banks and multilateral development banks like the World Bank playing a larger role. Another major obstacle is Donald Trump's victory. There is significant uncertainty about the Trump administration's future commitments to global funding. The US is the largest shareholder in most of these institutions, including the World Bank. However, Trump has taken a somewhat different tone when it comes to supporting climate goals. Meanwhile, the COP process has even less control over the funding flows of private financial institutions. Much of Wall Street has spent the past year rolling back its green commitments or betting against clean energy and climate tech. Bankers and investors have repeatedly made clear they will only put money where there's profit. So the real question is, will COP29 be another annual event or have a greater impact this time around? Business Bureau, WION World is One.